I purchased a 10-pound bag of potatoes last week, and I went to go place them inside my pantry, and I noticed that some of the older potatoes that I haven't eaten had started to sprout. Now, the funny thing is about these potatoes, these are just conventional grocery store potatoes. They are not organic. If you are going to plant potatoes, what I do know for a fact is that you need to buy generally organic potatoes, or you purchase seed potatoes, because potatoes are sprayed with a spud inhibitor if you buy a conventional potato to stop the eyes from sprouting. Well, maybe they just didn't spray a lot on these, or maybe I just got lucky and they missed them, but they started sprouting on their own. So I have never grown potatoes before. So I actually consulted a few YouTube videos, and what we have here are 3 potatoes in total that I cut into pieces, and then I let sit on my counter for about 5 or 6 days to cure, to form a hard surface, because you can't cut a potato and then put it right into the ground or it will rot. So I let these dry. It looks like that these are some viable buds. So again, I've never grown a potato before, but I feel like, why not? I'm a little inspired. I'll give it a shot. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But I'm going to plant these in a 20-gallon fabric grow bag. So today is March 24th. We are right about at our last average freeze date, and we're about 1 to 2 weeks away from our last average frost date. So the thing about potatoes, when you think of potatoes, where do you think of? You think of Ireland, you think of Idaho, you think of places that do not have very hot summers. You don't think about coastal southeastern North Carolina, you don't think about Florida, you don't think about the Caribbean. So potatoes do not like really hot summer weather. So the cool thing about them is, because you bury them underground when you plant them, you should plant them in the ground. You have to time them properly, so you can get them in the ground when the ground is no longer subject to freeze, but you don't want them to, since they'll be planted in the ground, they won't be subjected to frost. So you need to time these just right so you can get them in the ground when there's no danger of the ground freezing, but you want to time it so by the time they sprout up past the soil, you're past your frost date. So that just happens to be right about now for me. I think if I plant them now, right at my last chance of freeze date, I will be able to get these in as early as possible, so when they break through the soil, there will be no risk of frost, and that'll give me enough of a time that they can mature and get to the point where I can harvest them before the really nasty heat of the summer. So we'll bring these outside and I'll see what I can do. Again, I've never done this before, but we'll give it a shot. Okay, so what I learned in my limited amount of potato research, it's just a few things. You want to plant your potatoes with about 6 inches of soil underneath it so the roots can grow down into the soil. Then you want to bury them by about 4 to 6 inches. And you want to wait for the shoots of the potatoes to break through the soil. They need to germinate in total darkness. So in both of these containers, this is a 20-gallon fabric grow bag, I have a mix of topsoil, composted cow manure, and a little bit of 555 organic fertilizer, some bone meal, and some Epsom salts. So I am just going to place the potatoes with the shoots standing up, kind of equidistant from each other, so they have some room. So I have 7 of them total, and then I'm going to bury them with about 4 to 6 inches of soil. Now I'm going to water these in. We want to keep them moist, but not wet. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to wait until the shoots break through the soil, and I'm going to let them grow out of the container, and then I'm going to bury them with additional lifts of soil. So I should be able to bury the potatoes about another, maybe 2 or 3 times with a 4 to 6 inch layer of soil. Because the potatoes grow up the stem. They grow up the stem almost like goiters on the side of the potatoes. So the more soil they have to grow in there, the more they're going to produce. So they will grow their first potatoes off the seed at the 6 inch level, then I want them to grow at the 10 inch level, and then at the 14 inch level, and then at the 18 inch level, and then we'll be out of space. But the further you bury them, and you keep adding dirt on top of them, the more they'll produce up. And that's about it. Again, I've never done this before. We'll give this a shot, and we'll see how it goes. It's April 14th, and here's the progress of the standard grocery store russet potatoes. They all sprouted eyes in my pantry, despite being conventional potatoes, and I'm really blown away by how great these things are doing. Now remember, I planted these 6 inches deep, so these have grown through 6 inches of soil, and they just look fantastic. They're loving the mid-70s that we've been having consistently, and the 50-something degree nights. They're doing great. And it's really a myth that you can't grow a potato out of a conventional grocery store potato. It may take a little while for them to sprout, but everybody at some point in their life or they miss a potato in their pantry, and it'll sprout eyes. And at that point, it appears to be just as good as an organic or a store-bought seed potato. Will these put out the production that an organic or seed potato that you'd buy from a Home Depot or Lowe's will put out? That remains to be seen, but we'll find out together.